sharet malachei elyon mi melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh hakadosh baruch hu.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
That was a beautiful rendition of Debbie Friedman's Shalom Aleichem. We welcomed our angels and we welcome all of you. I'm Rabbi Samantha Kahn. This is the wonderful Cantor David Muchnick, and we are so happy to have you joining us. Whether you're online or in person, whether this is your first time or your 5,000th time, we are happy you chose to be with us this Friday night, and we hope you will experience a meaningful Shabbat overflowing with joy and sweetness. And in that vein, I'd like us to begin by taking a moment to reflect now on the week gone by and prepare ourselves to fully enter the Shabbat. So we stop and consider the various moments of the past six days. What were the highlights? What was the struggle? What do you want to hold on to in the week to come, and what do you need to shake off and let go of before entering the joy of Shabbat? Take a moment. You may close your eyes, take a breath, and reflect. Thank you. Is this a little better? Good. Tonight we will be worshiping from our Mishkan Tefillah prayer book, the blue prayer books, which are under the seat or somewhere nearby. It says Shabbat on the cover. That's very important. And for those watching at home, you can follow along by going to our website, cbiboca.org. Click the menu button on the top left-hand corner. You'll find the word services. You're going to click that and scroll down so you see where it says live stream, and there you can find our digital prayer book. Once found, I invite everyone, both online and in person, to turn to pages 2 and 3. In honor of Emma becoming a bat mitzvah tomorrow morning, we invite up Emma and Michelle and Mark to lead us in Kiddush and Motzi. Page 2 and 3. What did I say? I said motzi. I meant candles. We'll save motzi for the end. I'm skipping ahead.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'achnis ner shal Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
We continue now on page 5, sanctifying Shabbat with our Kiddush. You guys can grab these.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'vratzon hinchilanu zikaron le'maaseh v'reishit כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל עמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen.
We continue on page 16. Keep this beautiful feeling going as we turn to pages 20 and 21 and welcome our Sabbath bride, L'Chadodi. We will be doing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, and on the 9th verse, we will rise and face the door.
Shemo echad, Shemo
So beautiful. Thank you. We continue on page 26 with our Hatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
Amen.
בעלמא דברך ירצה וימליך מלכותה, בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam Lol Mehamaya Yitbarach Ve'ishtabach V'itpar V'itroma V'itnaseh V'itadar V'itale V'italal Shemei Dekudesha Berichu Le'ela Min Kol Berchata V'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'olma ve'himeru. Amen.
We invite all who are able to please rise for a call to worship on page 28. Page 31. Let's read together at the top of the page. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. We continue on page 34 and 35.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
You may be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Elohechem emet. Page 39. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there's a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Page 40.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא נורא, נורא תהילות, עושה פלא. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא נורא, נורא תהילות, עושה פלא.
Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. From a place of fragility, our next prayer calls out to God for peace and protection in the night. We ask God to watch over us on pages 42 and 43 with Hashkivenu.
Understanding among us, let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us, let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storm. Ashkivenu Hashivenu Lishalom. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. We continue on page 44 with Vishamru. If your hearts aren't already open, this is the moment to crack open your hearts and your lips as we offer God the centerpiece prayers of our worship. We invite all who are able to please rise for the Amidah. We will begin together on pages 46 through 52.
Adonai, sifatai tiftachu fi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל. מכלכל חיים מחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומדום מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Amen. We continue silently on our own through page 62, having a seat when we are finished. If you're not finished, please continue. Everyone else, please turn to page 62. Thank you. Beautiful as always. So I've been spending some time the past couple weeks helping one of our CBI teens with her college application essay. It's always wonderful working with our phenomenal young people and helping them to represent themselves as best they can. But after working with her, I got curious. What had I written? And could I find it? Sure, it's been over 2 decades, but anything's possible, so I searched virtually through the drives that were accessible to me, and finally threw away the floppy disks I had been saving because I realized there was no way to access whatever was on them. And while I couldn't find my college application essay, I found the personal statement I submitted when applying for rabbinical school to HUC. It seems the prompt was to share a significant life event and what it taught us. What a question. What would you say to such a big question? Do any life moments pop up in your mind? Well, always the contrarian, I apparently refused to pick a single moment. Instead, my essay began with my declaration. I cannot identify a singular defining moment of my life. No aha when my perspectives and life views were forever and irrevocably changed. Instead, the defining moments of my life consist of various experiences, ranging from personal bests to horrible mistakes not worth repeating. My defining moments include countless occurrences, many mundane, that others might completely overlook. But those life experiences, either immediately or in hindsight, affected and molded the person I am. Okay, I always enjoyed writing, but what were the moments I was referring to? I can't remember. What are the mundane moments? What were the personal bests I had in my mind as I wrote that? And most importantly, what were the horrible moments that shaped me that weren't worth repeating? I can't remember what that version of me was referring to. But if I had to take a wild guess, knowing myself for the last 40 years, I would place a big bet that there was something I was holding on to with a deep regret stemming from something I said when I was angry. I consider myself a thoughtful, kind, appreciative human being, but I also know that I, like all humans, certainly have my flaws. And being completely honest and vulnerable here, I know my greatest eternal struggle is my quick tongue. Is this a problem for any of you? I see a lot of heads. So much of life is our relationship with others. In most cases, words are inevitable. I believe deeply in the power of words, the power to create, to inspire, to educate, to encourage. But what about other words? Those which offend or inflame. Have you ever said something out loud and watched as the words fell from your lips and wanted to take them back immediately? Whether sharing a personal story in an intimate conversation or offering a retort in a heated argument, what do you do next? Do you take it back? Do you pretend it's a joke? Or do you just stand there, realizing the world might never be the same? Because our words can do that, you know. They have the power to change our reality for better and for worse. So what do? How do we move forward after saying something we regret? There's a famous Talmudic story where two rabbis find themselves in a heated argument. Well, that part's in a lot of Talmudic stories. But in this one, it starts as a useful and important discussion, but quickly degrades. Then Rabbi Yochanan tells Reish Lakish, a thief knows the tools of his trade. While that might not sound like a big deal, that was a huge insult. Rabbi Yochanan said something truly rude. You see, Reish Lakish had been a thief in his childhood, but had come so far from there and was now a rabbinic sage. Yochanan's name-calling makes Reish Lakish so upset that he gets physically ill and ends up dying. And the tragic story doesn't end there. Rabbi Yochanan is so distraught over Reish Lakish's death, and probably also about the role he played in it, that eventually it said he grieved so much that he lost his mind, and he too then dies. As you can tell, it's a typical rabbinic uplifting story. No, it's not. But it's an important one. It's an important one about the power of our words. Rabbi Yochanan loved Reish Lakish, but in anger he said something mean that would change both their lives forever. It reminds me of the Kabbalistic teaching that everything we say creates something. Every word is the beginning of creation. So every night, I ask myself what my words created today. Did they inspire? Did they comfort? Did they challenge? Or God forbid, did they cause hurt? This question weighs on my mind this evening as Erev Rosh Hashanah is in 2 weeks, and each Rosh Hashanah brings me back to a place of self-reflection, as does this month of Elul, which comes before our days of awe, which we are in now, offering us an opportunity to do the difficult work of bettering ourselves. My great struggle as I think about it, though, is that I feel like I'm apologizing for the same thing every year. Anyone else feel that? Promising and hoping and striving for the same changes year after year after year, wanting to do better, hoping to do better, and yet growing older and knowing my personality gets harder and harder to mold and change with each passing year. So I face the difficult moments of the year gone by and pray for help in the year to come, knowing that my imperfections are probably to some extent here to stay and can sometimes cause hurt to others. A terrible realization that I struggle with every year. We can make every effort to read and practice and learn all the right tools, and yet sometimes we still make mistakes. Rabbi and psychologist Dr. Mordecai Schiffman writes in his commentary on this week's parashah that our emotional experiences sometimes seem to come out of nowhere. When we try to understand what caused a certain emotion, we are sometimes left with more questions than answers. It's true, but I believe when we have more questions than answers, this is when we come to temple. This is what the month of Elul is for. On the simplest level, the high holidays are about waking up. They're about getting in touch with our feelings, our actions, and yes, our words. They are a ritual reminder that this life is the only one we have, and we need to pay attention to not waste it. We need to ask ourselves who we are and what we're doing here at this moment in our lives and in this world. We need to ask ourselves what in our life needs to change and how this year can we actually change it. Rabbi Harold Kushner writes about this potential for our Jewish tradition to help us reflect and refocus our lives, writing that Judaism can save your life from being wasted, from being spent on the trivial. Judaism is a way of making sure that you don't spend your whole life with its potential for holiness on simply eating, sleeping, and paying your bills. It's a guide to invest your life in things that really matter so that your life will matter. It comes to teach you how to transform pleasure into joy and celebration, how to feel an extension of God by doing what God does, taking the ordinary and making it holy. And that becomes our task and our biggest challenge and our hardest question to ask. How do we take something as ordinary as words and make them holy? Our Kabbalists teach that we are to speak as if heaven is always listening. But this is hard, and while Judaism does recognize the difficulty in this and even teaches that one shouldn't be held responsible for what they say while in distress, our tradition also teaches that once words escape our mouths, they can never return. And this is the crux of the matter. Even when angry, even when overwhelmed or exhausted or frustrated or overworked or sick or in distress, once you speak, those words have a life of their own. We learn this from the terrible incident with Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. And this is also a lesson in this week's parashah, which discusses the importance of tochacha, loving rebuke, and listening. There's one line that stands out to me most tonight, and it's, we are commanded, Haseket u'shma Yisrael, be silent and listen, Israel. I feel like the Torah is screaming at us a little bit. Take a breath. Don't respond. Be silent. Listen. Silence holds an essential place in Jewish tradition. There's incredible power in the opportunities we have for silent prayer, the opportunity to meditate and reflect, or just enjoy a few moments of quiet in a world full of noise. There's a recognition that silence in the right settings can lead us to holiness. As Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs explains, when the prophet Elijah stood in the desert after his confrontation with the prophets of Baal, he encountered God not in the whirlwind or the fire or the earthquake, but in the kol zemamad zakah, the still small voice, as it's usually translated, but more literally understood as the sound of a slender silence. Think about that. What is the sound of a slender silence? How do we achieve it? Rabbi Sachs defines this as the sound you can hear only if you are listening with all your heart. This is what these words of Torah call out to us, to get out of our own heads and out of our own thoughts, to be silent and listen, really listen to the other. Listening is a primary theme of Moses' speech in Deuteronomy. The root for listen appears no fewer than 92 times in the book, in the book of Deuteronomy, which Rabbi Sachs notes as astonishing. Listening was an essential lesson for the Israelites, and it remains an essential lesson today. In fact, I believe this is the message 13-year-old me, who often fought with her best friend, needed to hear. This is the message 20-year-old me, who was embarrassed by her flaws while applying to rabbinical school, was talking about and needed to hear. And this week, this is the message 40-year-old me needed to hear again. And maybe, just maybe, It's a lesson you need to hear too. This is the season for reflection and for turning, the season for speaking hard truths about ourselves, taking time to be silent and still and to listen to others. Only by doing the work of teshuvah can we ensure the significant moments of our lives moving forward will be ones that we can always remember with pride. Shabbat Shalom. We take a moment now to think of those who are in need of healing. As a congregation, we are praying for the healing of Annie Rosenfield, Asher Ben Karen Fay, Barbara Newmark, Bonnie Kleinman, Daniel Bernstein, David Field, Dr. Elise Karnick, Evelyn Greenfield, Gary Baker, Gary Bandel, Harav Avraham Ben Yehudit, Howard Kleinberg, Howard Rosenbluth, Ira Kafka, Itzachana Belabat Rivka, Janet Cohn, Stuart Benson, Cheryl Cutler, Joan Permet, Carol Porwich, Elliot Porwich, Giovanni Shambari, Randy Hirschhorn, Sarah Bott Rebecca, Stephen Tenner, Julian Middleman, Marcy Sherrill, Masha Zelda, Shlomo Yaakov Ben Devorah Fradel, Harriet Ginsburg, Julius Rosenberg, Jerry Campbell, Robert Rosenberg, Tova Simcha Bat Yosef, Joshua Salad, Joan Seidman, J.R. Morano, Lillian Bouchel, Lillian Rosenblatt, Mark Davis, Naomi Kirstein, Rachel Bat Shoshana, Rena Fields, Richard Rosenbluth, Richard Shankman, Diane Spiro, Robert Kay, Sherry Martin, Shayna Call, Shirley Kafka, Sloan Caston, Tova Bat Sarah Ariel Lev, Zechava Golda Bat Nechama, Lisa Bonaire, Ryan Seidman, Stanley Geddes, Eric Kupferberg, Beth Spector, Salvatore Shambari, Roy Schwedelson, Elka Kayla, Miriam Sarah Bat Gidel Tova, Marcia Davis, Ruth Weiner, Mira Bat Laser Vilea, Brandon Lowy, Ellen Field and David Field, Shmuela Bat Fega, Nelson Soto, Lenore Freeman, Verda Wigworth, and Yanka Elka Bat Leah. If there are other people you're thinking of in need of healing, please raise your hand.
Mark Recklin.
Page 253, Misha Berach.
Help us find the
announcements before we begin our concluding prayers. Torah study is tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. This says in the sanctuary, but that's wrong. It's in the chapel, as it always is. Mazel tov to the Kessler family on Emma becoming a bat mitzvah tomorrow morning. That is in the sanctuary at 10 a.m. Please help keep our bins full for the Little Free Pantry and learn more about that on our website. And I'm going to skip the rest because of time and say, finally, if there are religious school students who want credit for being at tonight's service, you earned it. That was a particularly long sermon. You come up to me after the service and I will sign, and you'll sign your name so you can get credit for being here. We now turn to page 282 for Aleinu L'Shabeach. Please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו echad.
Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As a congregation, we remember those lost in the past month. Remember Marvin Solomon Gottlieb and Philip Bass. And we remember the yahrzeits, the anniversary of the passing of Francis Shore, Joyce Wiseman, Bertha Cohn, Richard Blyer, Geraldine Gershon, Carol Coleman Levitt, Barbara Kaplan, Wilfred Stark, Stanley Weiner, Jacob Shore, Donald Hirsch, Jacob Turoff, Irving Port, Harry Fisher, Bernice Heidelbrand, Elaine Dugoff, Bruce Cowan, Edwin Fridorich, Edward Stein, Bernice Goodkin, Willio Tosani, Julius Kohlhagen, Edith Goldberg, Bertram Posas, Sylvia Berlin, Fred Krupp, Ruth Atkins, Alex Coles, Mo Isaac, Arnold Petulnik, Esther Elias, Stanley Weiner, Reggie Grossman, Joan Krein, Martin Doobie, Israel Sid Lekomnik, Arthur Berman, Pauline Schwedelson, Nathan Honig, Jonathan Geller, Bertha Cohn, Rose Spoot, Mara Schwat, and Arthur J. Popkin. If there are other names you're thinking of or corrections of my pronunciations, please raise your hand. No, Pauline. Not your mother. No, don't worry. Pauline. Do you have a grandma? Yeah. Thank you. Mark Hirschberg. For the names spoken out loud and those we hold in our hearts, we join together on page 294.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחיי יכון וביום יכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקדושה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא ויאמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל
ויאמרו amen.
Zichronam levracha, may the memories of your loved ones always be a blessing to your lives. Amen. You may have a seat while we have our hamotzi, and then a closing song. Did any of the kids make it? There were little ones here. I think there's still some kids here. Okay, if you are under 13 or 13 or under, come on up and help with hamotzi. Just kidding. Because there's no challah, so stand where you are. Let's sing hamotzi together so that you can eat it when you go into the oneg immediately after the service. Ready?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
And b'te'avon when you get in there. We are now on page 345 for our closing song.
May we be blessed as we go on our way. May we be guided in peace. May we be blessed with health and joy. May this be our blessing. Amen.
May all these be our blessings. Amen and Shabbat Shalom.